I'm just trying to find the balance because I've grown up watching everyone go to extremes of health, fitness, productivity. And I'm like, let's not take wellness there. And I feel like some people are. And there's some TikToks that, again, you leave thinking, oh, shit, do I need to be doing all of this stuff? You listen to podcasts and you think, do I need to take on all of your advice? And I think it's wellness. It's supposed to be small, helpful things, habits every day, not an all or nothing approach, because I think then that's, again, when we take it too far.
Megan Short is a British YouTube, TikTok and Instagram creator who's been active since 2012. After sharing her entire university experience with her online audience, Megan now inspires and uplifts her community with travel, lifestyle and well-being focused content. She has created 462 videos on her channel and at the time of this podcast has 105,000 subscribers. She also hosts her own podcast called Life's Your Bitch.
Hello everyone, how are we doing? Happy Sunday. Welcome back to another episode of Life's Your Bitch, the podcast where we are changing the narrative.
Where she helps viewers with tips and tricks for a healthy lifestyle without putting too much pressure on them to be perfect. We sat down with Megan to discuss the trials and tribulations of starting her YouTube channel, what tips she has for uni goers and creators, and her opinion on whether influencers need more mental health and wellness support in this ever-changing and challenging industry.
Hello and welcome to Creator Behind the Influence, Digital Voices podcast, where we sit down with some of the world's top content creators to ask them about their journeys and insights on the industry. This should be really useful whether you're an aspiring creator yourself or if you're a marketer and looking to understand the creator economy. Please consider subscribing to our channel. All right, let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Digital Voices podcast. We have the wonderful Megan Short with us today, who is a content creator who's covered kind of everything from the age of 16, from school, university, traveling post-university.
God, yeah, I guess.
I've got like 100,000 plus followers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And like TikTok and Instagram as well. Combined, it's like 178,000 followers.
Yeah, that's scary.
Does that scare you?
I don't know, it still doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't feel like I have any followers still. Like, I don't feel like the way I've done things necessarily, or like the things I talk about or anything has like changed really throughout the years. So like when I'm doing things like this, or someone like says a number to me, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, like this is my job, this is what I do, this is...
Yeah, if you de-duplicate yours, so like, well, yours is actually like 2 Wembley stadiums full of people.
Yeah, that makes me feel sick.
Yeah, cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
We won't line them up outside.
No.
But someone actually met you on the way here.
Yeah, that was really nice. Literally just like ran up to me and she was like, you have no idea who I am. And then I was like, I hate assuming. So like, I looked at her and she was chatting and I was like, oh yeah. And then she was like, oh, what's your video? So I was like, oh, thank you so much. Because I'm always scared they're just going to be like, do you know which way is like this? And because I never just...
You're going to be like, sorry, I'm famous.
Yeah, do you want a picture?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Do you want a picture? No, I just really need to know how to get to the Marks Spencer's.
Why would I want a picture with you? Yeah, so that was really, really nice.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
It used to happen a lot in Leeds. I went to uni to Leeds, in Leeds, and it used to happen a lot there. I think maybe just because I was making content around the unis and people like knew. I've ended up in their algorithm somewhere. But it did happen a lot on like nights out, which they probably don't have the best memory of me.
Did it change your behaviour if you knew you were probably going to meet people on nights out? Were you ever like, oh, I have to be like a certain way? Or did you just enjoy yourself?
No.
You're like genuinely authentic. You're like, no, I did not moderate my behaviour at all.
No. There's been some not great times. Someone once, we're going straight in, beginning of the podcast. Someone once, I was in like my favourite club in Leeds that everyone else in Leeds hates. But like, it's such good like R&B, I guess, kind of music. Like, where all the underage people go.
Cool.
That
so
kind
free
of vibe.
promo, what's the name of the club?
Space in Leeds.
Please
Please don't unfollow me now if you...
We have someone in the background who went to Leeds and is cheering that one. So Space, okay.
Yeah.
So you're in Space.
Yeah, and it was like one of the first like weeks in freshers, like in first year. And this is actually so bad. I threw up in the sink. Turned around and someone was like, oh my God, aren't you Megan Short? And I was like, yeah. So
you're like, don't tell anyone.
So yeah, people catch me in my truest form sometimes, but that's okay.
But it's funny because your content is very much like, you're right. I don't like the word authentic because I think it's overused. But like, you are very down to earth, and you're like, it feels like unpretentious, and even like your travel vlogs, they're like very much romanticizing a hostel, but you haven't just shown the beautiful images. You've shown walking to the showers and stuff. Like, not obviously, okay, that sounds bad. You show walking to the shower, not walking you in the shower. That was what I was clarifying. But yeah, it's, you're not very Instagrammy in that you're more, I'd say you're more of a TikTok than an Instagram, and because it's more authentic, you're not like aspirational and crazy.
Yeah, I think it's this is what I mean, like even saying stuff like this, I say, oh, I think it's important, but I think I still just at like my socials, like just have my friends on it. Like I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a conscious choice to like post that way and to show those things. It just like comes naturally to show that. And I think as well, like obviously I am aware that it's my job and some choices might be conscious, but yeah, I just think it's super important. And like when you're traveling, like I would personally rather watch someone's, like if I'm going somewhere, I say this to everyone, if I'm like interviewing them on a podcast or whatever, I'm like, tell me the actual best and worst, because if I'm going to go traveling and someone's like really romanticized this hostel and then you go and stay at it and it's not like that, or you know, like the walks to showers, like you said, like we're actually quite far away, and just like silly things like that, and that traveling sometimes isn't all glamour, and you can have bad days and you can do that, because I don't want someone to be like, oh, I travel because of your videos and it was nothing like you said. That's not what I want to portray.
Yeah, it's I was like watching because Amelia Liana is in who is, you know, not normally my vibe, but fine. She's in Maldives at the moment, and she was posting, and like obviously all the outfits you prefer for the Maldives are like very summery and stuff, and loads of influencers are like, my Maldives outfit, and they've really romanticized it. And then she posted and it was raining, and I was like, I'm happy I know it rains sometimes, because can you imagine turning up and you've been told it's like the trip of a lifetime?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just as important to show all of them moments and all of the downs and stuff as well as it is the ups. So that's what makes a good trip as well. Can't have a good day without a bad day.
Yes, exactly. And it kind of makes you appreciate the bad days a bit better, because you know they're
especially when if someone's listening, they haven't really watched my content. We were away for like prolonged periods of time, and to have 6 amazing weeks like throughout is just unrealistic. And like when there is a bad day or it's raining, you're like, okay, thank God, like we could just sit here all day and like not move.
Or you turn up and your hostel's not what you expect, and you're like, great, I've got to find another hotel and it's going to take me ages to find somewhere new. Like that type of stuff happens all the time. Yeah, it does. So it's important to share. So how did you get into creating content?
Long version or short version?
Got 50 minutes.
Okay, well we'll go for a medium. So my best friend, Chi with a C, is her handle.
I love Chi with a C.
Yeah, she's great. But I'd always wanted to post content, just like you kind of said. My YouTube channel has been a thing since I was 12. Not posted on it, but been watching it. And I literally asked my mum when I was 12. I was like, can I make a YouTube channel? And she was like, you're 12. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, fair point. And I remember like screenshotting like my notes page and posting it on my Instagram being like, shall I start a YouTube channel when I was in year 7? And everyone was like, yeah, do it. And my mum was like, no. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. And then I was like 15 and she was like, you should start that thing you wanted to do. Like I was really into like makeup. I was going to like West End Kids every Saturday. She's like, this is so fun. But then I was at the age where I was like, oh no, like now it's embarrassing. Yeah. And then my best friend, she had to see, was doing all that kind of stuff, completely different angle, like comedy. And then one day I was like, will you film a video with me? Like my best friend, it was back when like my best friend does my ASOS was like a thing.
Oh yeah.
So she did it. And then I like didn't really think about it because she was in it, and I just posted it. And then I was like, oh, I can't really just post like one video, can I was like, better post next week as well. And that was that.
And did you... Okay, that's really cool. So you knew you wanted to do it from when you were young. You'd like...
Yeah, it's every girl's dream job, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, if you grow up with YouTube. Yeah. 100%. It's like... And then how did having friends who were doing YouTube, did it shape your approach to it? Because I guess Chi with the C already had like a channel at that point. And were you like, I know all the tricks. I know I have to be consistent because your friend was doing it. Did it help you structure it more?
I think it helped in the way that I was just like... oh, like you're doing it too. Like it is possible, and like we can both do it. And like I said, it was completely different angles. So like, kind of if I was like, oh, on a Wednesday every week, that wasn't really what she was doing. She was like coming up with funny videos, posting them as and when, probably like more frequently than me. And yeah, I think I was just kind of like, oh, it's not that hard and it's not that scary, and like it can do cool things for you. We're talking like really early days. I think at this point she even had like 15. No, I think she had like 6,000 subscribers at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking like 6 years ago now. So
it's
like,
a long time ago.
Yeah, so it wasn't like I'd seen her and I was like, oh wow, you can like make this a job, or like loads of people know you. I was just like, oh, this is so fun. Like I was watching her do it and I was in her videos. I was like, this is so fun and it's not at all scary.
And so you didn't see it like a professional long-term thing. You just saw it like, I want to try this and enjoy it while...
Oh no, like obviously I knew, like when I started, obviously it was, you knew that was, like I'm not talking when I was at Zoella days, I'm like, who knew this could be a job? Like I knew it could be, but I never necessarily like thought it would be.
For you.
Especially because at the moment, like when you start, then it's just so fun and new. So you're just like posting. And then I think I was posting for a year and a half before I even got the like credentials, is that the right word? Like the requirements to get monetized on YouTube.
Like the partnership program, YouTube YPP or whatever.
Yeah, so I was posting for like a year and a half. Like I think I was posting at one point every other day for a year and a half before like I even, and then I got that in the May, and then I didn't get paid my £60 threshold until the August. And I was like, oh my God, I just made £63. This is sick.
I'm gonna go to Topshop.
Literally, I was like, oh my God, I could do so much for next video. Like I just thought it was so fun.
Did you teach yourself to edit?
Yeah, she helped me with that. So that was good, because I think one of that was like, I was like, where do you even kind of start? Yeah. And I wouldn't say I did much at the beginning. Like we're talking like kind of like cut out or like big spaces or something. Like I didn't really do much to
Jump
them.
cuts, yeah.
But yeah, she taught me. She has a lot to play in this. She taught me pretty much everything I knew from the beginning.
Good friend.
Yeah, she's literally the best friend ever. Still is.
So how did it change, like when you were in school, so finishing your like AS and A levels, you were posting sometimes up to twice, like every other day. That's how did you balance that? And did you get over the cringeness that you felt when you were like 15 and before you started? Like how did you lean into it?
Do you know what? I don't think I ever really seen it as, I don't think I ever seen it as cringe. I was kind of just like, oh, this is so fun. I did lose one of some of my best friends, but that's a whole other story. Really? Yeah, because they thought it was, and I was like, "That's cool then. You can carry on thinking." Like, it didn't really.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is a bit sad. But then I was kind of like, I'm very much like a realist when it comes to situations. I'm like, that is sad, but then I'm like, well, at least you're not going to say it again, and like at least now I know.
So what stage did that happen?
I was still in sixth form. I think I've been posting for like a year, maybe. Yeah. Or not even that long, probably. I think it was when I kind of just started. And someone was like, oh my God, it's so awkward, embarrassing. And my best friend was like, oh my God, yeah. Like, and then one of my friends, they were like, she's just said that. And I was like, oh, it's okay. I was like quite strong at that point where I was like, I kind of knew it would probably happen at some point. Like someone was going to say it. So I was like, okay, just kind of, it wasn't drama at all. I was like, okay, well, that's that. Thanks for showing me your true colours earlier on, and kind of just, I left it there.
That's so impressive. Like, no, the thing that impressed me about it is that you were quite like stable at a young age to not be bothered by it or create drama around it. Because I think a lot of the time when you're that age, you like feel things so deeply. Yeah. But it kind of implies you've stayed like a relatively like consistent, rational person, like pragmatic person, I guess, through a lot of big changes. Yeah, I think so. I think just things like that, like obviously it can be harder, and obviously I was a bit like, oh, that's like really shit, because like we were in like every single lesson together. We used to walk to school together and everything. And I was like, oh, that is a bit rubbish. But I was like, well, okay. Yeah, I was like, it's not really. Like, at least now I know that that's how you felt or whatever. And she always says like she didn't. And I was like, a few months later, she apologised. And I was like, do you know what, thanks. But like, I'm not sure now if we can, You're not going to like bring it back. But I guess so. Like I said, I've just kind of always been a bit of a realist with things like that. If they don't hold like super big, sway over your life. Yeah. It's funny because I've heard two different versions from people who grew up doing YouTube. There's either like people thought it was like odd or cringe, or people were like, as soon as you start doing well, they're like asked to be in your videos, and you end up at school with like often people you weren't friends with trying to be friends for clout, which...
Yeah, I've definitely had weird things like that. Not necessarily like people wanting to be my friend as such, I don't think. But like in uni, of like the girls were like alone with, so we like did a lot of collaborations, and if they went and like collaborated with one of the photographers, like apparently they'd literally sit down in the first like question, because I moved courses, so I was on photography. So when they'd be with the photographer, apparently the first thing they'd be like is like, oh, you live with Megan, doesn't see, so how much money does she make? I'm like, you would not ask anyone else that question.
No.
People definitely are just like nosier, but then I do think like, I don't know, like of course they are as well.
I know.
Like
so chill, you're like not fussed by it.
I do think like, oh, that's a bit weird, especially if like they don't chat to me and they're like finally alone with one of my other friends. I do think that's a bit strange, but at the end of the day, I'm like, well, they're not.
Oh, they're just curious.
Yeah, I'm like, so would I have been?
Yeah, it's like
Wouldn't
it's
have
a bit
asked,
sad
but-
they want to ask, but it's
Yeah,
okay,
I wouldn't have asked, but I would have been just as curious as
That
you
makes
are.
sense. So when you were at school, your channel was doing quite well, and then you decided to do photography at uni. So did you know you wanted to go to uni all the time? You weren't tempted to go like full time straight into YouTube?
I thought I was going to take a gap year. And then I don't really know why now. Like, I think I just kind of wanted to like give it my all for a year and see. And then I got into Leeds Arts, which was like my dream uni. Like when we had the open day, I was like, oh, I love this, for photography. And then, yeah, I kind of got in and didn't want to miss it. So just like went. But yeah, 2 months in, I changed to fashion branding.
Why did you change to fashion branding?
I got there and I was like, so I'd done GCSE art and A-level art, had done loads of fashion photography in them, and then kind of got to uni where obviously you like bring it in a lot more like niche, and then I was only kind of responsible for taking the photo, and I was like, oh, this isn't the part of the process that I really enjoy. I was like, it's the putting it together, it's the styling, it's the concept, it's the idea, which obviously you do that in photography as well, but yeah, it's obviously way more focused on like how to actually use camera and this and that, which I still have absolutely no idea how to do. But yeah, moved because I was
Enough
like,
to film.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't the part that I enjoy. So one of my flatmates, who's like my best friend, was on that course, and I was like, yours course seems cool, I'm gonna go over there.
And did you feel nervous about changing? Anything like that?
Honestly, it was change or drop out. I really, really didn't like it.
You really didn't like photography?
Really, really didn't. Yeah, did not like it.
Did you have did you find it was interesting with your audience? Because like often I guess a lot of them, probably some went to Leeds Uni based, like Leeds Arts or Leeds based on you.
Yeah.
And they probably look up to you quite a lot because it feels like they grew up with you.
Yeah,
from the
probably,
comments and stuff.
Yeah.
So you probably gave a lot of people confidence to change their courses who wouldn't have done so.
That's nice, I hope so. Yeah, I think because I remember I made a video and it's literally called like I changed courses and a uni vlog. And I look very distressed in the thumbnail. And yeah, I just made the whole video and I was just like, this is not working for me, so I'm going to change. So I hope so, because that would be nice to think, because I do think there's a big like, I know I was a bit like, what do I want to change? Like it was like nearly December now and I was like, can I just get up and like do that? But like I said, for me, it was like, I do this now or I'll probably drop out at the end of this year. Like I knew realistically, like I went home for like the weekend because I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I really hate this. So yeah, I hope so, because it's really not the end of the world, especially in first year when your grades don't necessarily matter or count towards your final grade. They matter for other reasons, but like towards your final grade, it's really not the end of the world to get up and move around.
And I think it's the fact that we like have to specialise from the age of 16. You start like narrowing down, and then you have to write this UCAS personal statement. I found someone reading one on TikTok somehow on the algorithm came up, and it was someone reading their own personal statement for law, and I was like, oh, this is intense. I found it so stressful because I was like, you're so young trying to define everything about yourself and you have to point it towards a course. So it makes you like create a narrative around one path. Yeah. And then when you get there, if you don't like it, you probably feel really stressed.
Yeah, because I didn't even look at another like single option. Like I was like, I've been doing fashion photography for like 4 years. I absolutely love this. Didn't actually have another option than like UAL at the time. And my parents were like, just have a look at another uni. And I was like, if I'm not going to London, I'm not going. And so I went and got to Leeds and I was like, yeah, this place is so much cooler. And then, yeah, so was quite just like, didn't mean to be stuck in my ways, but just thought I knew. Just thought I had it in the bag. And then I got there and I was like, oh, no, you didn't. So yeah, I wish I looked a bit further, which is something I always say when people ask me about uni. I'm like, just yeah, open your mind a little bit. You might be so sure, but just like go and look in the other room. Just have a look.
Yeah, give yourself 20 minutes of thinking about another path.
Yeah, no, did not even consider anything else. So I'm very grateful my flatmate was on that course. Otherwise, I probably would have dropped out. Because I didn't know. I would have never.
Thank you to your flatmate.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Lou.
Thanks, Lou.
Yeah. I owe a lot to her as well. We're some great friends.
You do, actually.
Yeah, I do.
It's like the ones you lost, you don't really care. You've like
Why
got
would
great
you when
ones
you've got
now.
such great friends? Yeah.
So how did content in your channel change during uni?
Oh, it became very uni focused. It was either uni vlogs or like fashion hauls.
Yeah.
And they did really well because people wanted to know, like I said again, like the reality of uni. I never held back that. I was like, hey, freshers is shit. Like, this is not as fun as people make out. Like I made a video like the reality of UK freshers because I was like, my brothers as well, like they said uni was like the best time ever. And it probably more was so for them. But I feel like you go into freshers week thinking like, well, we did anyway, like this is going to be like a Magaluf week. But you're like, no, you guys are Magaluf with like your best friends. You're like trying to do that with people you met yesterday.
Who happen to just live in your halls or in your course. Yeah, it's quite weird.
Yeah, exactly. So I think me just always, again, like showing the reality of that, people appreciated and people enjoyed, I think.
Yeah.
It's funny to even talk about that. I've never really like sat and been like, yeah, I guess people do really appreciate what I do because I'm just like,
You're just like living your life.
Yeah, and like documenting it, I guess.
How do you find the balance between like, because you've done a lot of fashion hauls that have done quite well as well. So how did you find balancing this like super personal, like here's the reality of my life with like fashion hauls, which during uni it's hard to do because having the money during uni is hard to do. And then also that's a very different audience.
I feel like a few years ago it wasn't though. I feel like fashion hauls a few years ago were almost like a get ready with me. Like people just watched them because they enjoyed the person or because like, you know, these websites are big. We don't want to like sift through them all the time. But I don't really think, I don't know, I've never taken this like super, I'm trying to now, super serious in the fact that like, I didn't sit down and you like, how am I going to find the balance? I kind of just like, oh, I'm going to do PRT haul. Oh, I'm going to vlog this week. Oh, I'm going to just kind of like whatever felt exciting or like it was Halloween. I remember I did like a flatmates rate my Halloween, like whatever just felt like fun I would do. And at that point was when I first started getting brand deals. So I'd have people approach me be like, can we send you the clothes or can we, some people were going to pay me. And I was like, well, absolutely, let's do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I just kind of winged it all, I guess you could say.
So nice. Like the number of people who end up with not doing something else while they're a creator and then put a lot of pressure on being a creator to give them a source of happiness is and I think that's where sometimes you fall into like bad mental health patterns when you've got this pressure to create, whereas it feels like for you it was something you enjoyed and you kept in your life because you enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. I think just at uni it was that, like you said, that other outlet and I was really enjoying it, and then obviously it did become like my part-time / kind of full-time job alongside uni, and that definitely does take that like winging it element out ever so slightly because you're like, okay, well now like I've got funds to make. Like when it's like that whole time before I was turning up to part-time jobs, receptionist in the gym, tutored people maths and English, like I was doing all these other things and that was my fun, whereas now that's the job. It's like making sure you find that other fun. Like at the moment, like even the whole time at uni, it was like, it's never been the main focus. Like there's always been something else. But now there's not. So I'm trying to make sure that like I have that, I'm trying to navigate it now slightly where it's like, could fall into a bit of pressure because like now I'm paying rent. And like, I've got to pay my rent and trying to like still keep it super fun and try and have like creative hobbies on the side so that it all just kind of like flows a bit naturally.
Yeah, rather than feeling like too much pressure.
Now. Yeah.
So when you graduated uni, what was your plan for the channel? Because I know you've traveled a lot, but did you plan for YouTube and like content to be full time, or did you think you'd go and work in fashion? Or
no, I kind of always knew in uni that this was the idealistic job at the end. Like, this is what I really, really wanted, and kind of knew from the way it was going in uni, like, it's probably likely that it's going to be, at least for a few years, hopefully. So kind of hoped that it was always going to be the main job, and then came out of uni and have wanted to travel for my whole life. It's been like my biggest dream forever, and anyone who knows me is sick of me saying that. So I kind of knew as soon as I was out, like, I just wanted to kind of make it work. Again, one of them things I was kind of like always really, really wanted to do it. Kind of trusted that it would kind of work out. Me and my friends obviously went away, and then me and my boyfriend did a few trips as well. So when I finished uni, I was like, I want my channel to be a travel channel. And now we're only talking like in July. I was kind of saying this in June. I just finished and I was like, I want to be a travel content creator. Like, that's what I want to do. And then I've done that for the last like 4 kind of months now. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a travel content creator. Because I think people see me as that like relatable, cozy home blog
person. Yeah,
and so they didn't actually do as well because they're just simply not as relatable from the title and the thumbnail. And yeah, I kind of am now in a position where like I feel like this is actually the first time since grad where I've sat down and I'm like, okay, there's not something else now. There's not travel, there's not uni, there's not a part-time job. I'm like, this is it. And it's literally like, this is the first 3 weeks of like really my life where I'm like, I'm in the position I wanted to be in. So I feel like I'm only just navigating that. And like with my podcast, it's very wellness based. I created that last year because I was like, actually, that's where I want to be. Yeah. That's the most like prominent thing in my life and in my mind, and the thing I think about the most. I've never really shown that because I got caught up in like uni and fashion, which I enjoyed. But now I'm like, I'm posting these things, but like if I really, really look into it, like what kind of content am I watching? What do I enjoy? Yeah. And my tutor actually helped me realise that because I created my podcast in my last uni module. Yeah. And she was like, this, like, what do you want to do? And she was like, when you leave here, like, what is it that you want to go and do with this? Or like, what are you talking about? What's your story? And I was like, oh, shit.
That tutor really, like, straight into the depths of your soul there.
Yeah. Again, they were great. Great people in my life. And then, I feel like I've sat down now and I'm like, actually, I want to do everything we spoke about. I just want to bring people along my journey and like document it and show the best and the worst. And just moved in alone and I can literally barely afford my rent. So I'm like, I just want to show all of this. I want to show what it's like to be in your early 20s and like, if that means I go and travel because I have like the urge to or whatever, like I just want to...
That's okay.
Yeah, I want to show it all and be able to change my mind and be able to talk about that.
And you're right, that travel content or being a travel content creator is super aspirational. Yeah. And as soon as you do it, people don't connect with you in the same way. Because if you have a bad day in Bali, they'll be like, oh,
you're in Bali,
yeah, well done, yeah, calm down. I wish I were in Bali. I'm in London, it's grey, and like,
there's worse days.
Yeah, there's way worse days. So actually, I guess this kind of matches in with your uni like life guide, very fun but very honest.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. Do you feel like a lot of your audience are in the same place as you? Like, are they growing up with you or are they younger than you?
I'd say we're all pretty similar. Give or take like 2-3 years either side. Like, I've got some people that are still commenting, definitely less, but I've got some people still commenting that like they're about to go to uni. Like, I definitely get less like, I'm about to start uni DMs. Like in the last 3 years while I was there, it was like all I would get, or like I'm just going to second year, or like all of this. And then I did an event the other day for my podcast, and one of the girls there was like 25. So I think, give or take a few years, we're all kind of trying to figure out the next step.
Which makes complete sense where you want to take it.
Yeah, exactly.
So why did you create your podcast?
So I love podcasts. I barely listen to music. If there's something in my ear, it's a podcast. And I have always and really only ever listened to self-development, wellness podcasts, but came away from a lot of them feeling worse than at the beginning, thinking like, okay, well, what is the next step here then? So you've just thrown this hour of advice at me with all these different opinions, all these different steps, all these different topics, and then just not knowing what to do with it. So I kind of wanted to create one that was like hopefully super lighthearted, and like in a lot of them I'll go away and research a topic and then come back and be like, this is what I found, here's like some really simple things we can do within like the next week. And it started with like leaving with a mindful moment and a journal prompt. It's kind of now just gone to a journal prompt because they were rather similar. But yeah, the whole point is that you can come listen to me chat about whatever it is I'm chatting about that week. I can give you some advice or some insight or like something that I found that was like a helpful nugget of information, and then leave you with a journal prompt if you do want to take action on that, and like just think about that one question.
Yeah, so it's like an easier direct action you can take that shouldn't feel too overwhelming.
That's the aim.
That's cool. And do you think that's a problem wellness has quite a lot? Because I think the industry is going to grow massively. It's like one of the few industries to watch in terms of like growth, because we had skincare, we're having hair care, and wellness is like the core of all of that. So wellness going to be huge. But do you think that's like a common problem with the industry?
I think with the industry in general is that we take everything to like extremity, and everything becomes. I actually did a uni module that was trend prediction, and my trend prediction I decided to focus on was health is the new status.
Love it.
Because before we had hustle culture to the point where people were coming out saying like, oh my god, like I've been sharing all these productivity tips and now I literally can't get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, now
like,
I'm so burnt out.
Yeah, I feel like we take everything to the extreme, and I feel like that's online and in my podcast, and everything I'm trying to do is like, I'm just trying to find the balance, because I've grown up watching everyone go to extremes of health, fitness, productivity, and I'm like, let's not take wellness there. And I feel like some people are, and there's some TikToks that again you leave thinking, oh shit, do I need to be doing all of this stuff? You listen to podcasts and you think, do I need to take on all of your advice? And I think, let's try and leave this on. It's wellness. It's supposed to be small helpful things, habits every day, not an all or nothing approach, because I think then that's again when we take it too far.
And do you think social media contributes to that all or nothing intensity?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where it is, isn't it? And it's like I always see people doing these like wellness things, and I'm like, again, probably because I've studied it in a bit of depth, and I'm like, I wonder if this is just super performative. So I actually predicted the next 10 years of wellness culture, and I was like, in the first 5 years, everyone's gonna go ham. Everyone's gonna become the most introverted, the most like looking after themselves the most. It's all gonna be so performative. We're gonna like post it, not do it in real life. And then I was like, and then hopefully, sadly, but people will be like, oh, this isn't sustainable. And then we'll start reeling it back, because there's been like, this is really uni now, but there's been laws passed in a few countries now that like, you can't like actually log on to your work emails on the weekends. Like that's literally, can't do that in some countries now and whatnot. So I think we're getting there. And I hope it doesn't go super performative, but I've watched TikToks where it's like, I went away for a cabin for the weekend and didn't bring my phone. We locked it in these boxes, and I'm like, you are filming your weekend. Your phone isn't in the box. What are you talking about?
Don't lie.
Yeah. So she's like, in the comments, she's like, I promise it was on airplane mode like the whole entire time. And I'm like, it's hard to find that balance, because I mean, I make the content and I get it, but yeah.
I'm with you. It's really funny as well, because you can see a lot of like health and wellness, which I think often, you'll notice some of them on TikTok have like ED triggers. It's like my morning routine, and it's like, yeah, of course you have a green smoothie every morning. And like, I don't know, it takes it to a degree where if you're still in bed at 8:30 a.m, you feel like a failure. And that can't be possible every day.
No.
Yeah, and some of the creators that are doing it, I'm like, also, I don't know if you eat the things you say you eat.
Yeah.
I think there's also that performative element of they're saying they eat food when they don't.
Have you seen the what I drink in a days on TikTok?
Some of them, the matcha in the morning. Oh, and all of them, lots of them are like fun
like
drinks.
The magnesium things, and that like just literally like
all the supplements in the drinks. I'm like, oh.
Have you ever seen one of the ones where they're like the nutritionists like react to them? And I'm like, thank God, like because I was that 16-year-old who would have watched that and gone, okay, take
I have to buy all these things,
to be healthy, or to be like the it girl, the clean.
Yeah. It's so interesting, because I think America is even further along on this than the UK. So like the vitamin culture and the supplement culture and ingestibles culture in the UK, in the US is much further along. So you can go to like any essentially Boots, and the vitamin selection is like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's overwhelming, and as a normal person, you don't really know enough about the ingredients to know what you should be taking.
No.
So then you find yourself scrolling online and you're like trying to work it out, and all these people recommend like a million
it's hard
random
when
things to
there's
put in liquids.
so many people making so much content. You don't know who to listen to. You don't know. People are saying they're a nutrition and they're probably not. And it's like, where do you go? Where do you start? And it's very overwhelming, the whole thing, I think.
Would you want like ever to have like nutritionist or like podcast guests that like debunk the myths?
Yeah, I was saying this to one of my friends I had on the podcast on Monday. She was like, and who else do you want? And I was like, I really want a sleep therapist. And she was like, what? She was like, that is the last person I thought you were going to say. I was like, I'm just sick of seeing everything on TikTok. Like, you need this much sleep. You need to be doing this to get to sleep. Because I went to an event once, like an online event with Always for their night pads, and there was someone there who talked us through it all. And I was like, I'd love to sit down with a nutritionist, sleep therapist, all of these people, and just be like, can we have some real advice, please?
Actionable tips.
Yeah,
exactly.
like what do we think about all of these trends, and what do we think, like, just someone to sit down and be like, if you're going to do like 2 things, do these. So I've done that with the next therapist who like has a journal company, to sit down and be like, how do we actually journal? Like, what is actually useful, and how should we be doing it? How often should we be doing it? And it was like the best episode ever.
Because you're right, there are so many different journals with so many different instructions. Some people bullet journal, some people write everything. I find it so overwhelming. I can't buy a journal.
Of course, of course. Like, you walk into WH Smith's or Paper Chase or anywhere, and there's so many.
Yeah.
It's like, which one's right? Yeah. Because if there was a right one, why is there so many other ones? It's just like a money-making thing as well. It's hard to get it right.
There's a lot of money in it. Which,
of course. Yeah.
So if you were talking to yourself, if you're talking to your first year in uni, are there any tips you would give yourself? Now that you know way more about wellness, what tips would you give yourself or students to help manage their lives a little bit better?
I was such a stress head in uni.
Were you?
Yeah, just such a stress head. I still am, about like everything. Like, I think I would take some of the rational thinking that I have in some areas of my life and just be like, it's not that deep. And I was like waiting for like the years to be over, because this was like my dream job. Like, I couldn't wait for uni to like be finished. And I think obviously my uni experience as a whole was quite different because I was at home for most of it. But in terms of wellness, I'd love to say journal. Recently I've been talking to a new therapist and she's like, you don't breathe. And I'm like, oh.
You're like, I thought I did. I'm alive.
I'll like talk to her and I'm like, yeah, so this. And she'll look at me and she'll go, are you breathing? And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't breathed in like 4 minutes. I think I'm just always, especially at uni, like you're always on high alert and everything's so new to like, definitely to say no to more things and just like stay in if you want to stay in, and like you're always going to meet friends, you don't need to take every single opportunity there is, and probably to stress less, because at the end of the day no one cares what you get in uni. Like I in all honesty wanted it first and was probably going to be disappointed with anything else at the time, and now like me and my friends really literally just met up that weekend and we were like, don't you wish we just didn't care, we just had more fun? So I'm like, we lived down the road from each other or in the same house and never seen each other unless we were in uni, really. Like we were all just at our laptops, and we were here this weekend and we were like, now we're hours and hours and hours away from each other, and like,
and it's so hard.
Yeah, I have to make so much more effort.
When you're in your 20s and like trying to see friends, it's like you have to pencil it in months in advance, and it just gets worse in your 30s.
Yeah.
30s, you're like, see you in 3 months.
Yeah, because then you get to the
depressing.
weekend and someone's like, well, something's come up now.
Yeah, oh, they're like, I've got 3 engagement parties, 7 weddings, and you're like, oh no.
Just take advantage of all of the fun things and just, don't deep it out all too much. It's meant to be a fun 3 years.
It's funny because you, in some ways, seem like so level-headed.
That's hilarious, isn't it?
And yeah, you're like, my friend drama didn't stress me. But then in other ways, you're like, right, I need to find the totalizing identity, and I need to be hyper-focused, and I need to...
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
still trying to figure that one out.
I'm glad you come on this journey.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, this is why I think I'm so passionate about just like trying to show the journey and trying to find the balance. And like I said, like this big passion of like this all or nothing on social media, because I feel like it's had a huge impact on me actually. And I feel like I'm like that in so many ways in my life. Like that I'm all, or if you like piss me off, I'm absolutely nothing. I feel like that's kind of where I'm at. Like something can bother me and I'm like, do we really, really, really care about that? Or do we like literally not care at all?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
Well, no, I don't think it is. I think it's a natural way of coping, but it means that when you're stressed, you're running just on adrenaline. And that's probably where the therapist and the breathing comes in.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. That's my goal this year, is to live a slower life, to just like chill.
And did you feel like you were pushed there by the toxic productivity stuff? Did you follow a lot of that? Were you like, I can make every second of the day productive?
Oh yeah, because I was trying to make this work full time, was trying to get first in my degree, kind of felt like the obvious thing to follow, which is why in second year I was like, you know what, I'm going to study this and I'm going to predict it and I'm going to find out everything about it, because I think it was when Grace came out with her Working Hard or Hardly Working book, and I was just like, oh, okay, everyone, let's breathe.
Stop.
Grace has told us we can slow down, so let's all slow down.
She has, and she's got her planners as well. And
I've got one.
I follow Grace's schedules of the day and try to do my own, and post them, and then people are like, thank you so much for sharing it, and some people are like, this is making me feel unproductive, and you get mixed messages. You never know if like you sharing that is being honest and transparent and helpful, or if it's making people feel bad.
It's definitely hyper aware of like the impact you can have on people like that, especially when I think you've been on the receiving end of it and you know someone's post has made you think, oh, I should get up. I think as well, like we have to take everything with a pinch of salt, obviously, is like an obvious thing to say, but like remember that, like sometimes I'll see Grace's and I'm like, wow, she's doing so well, like I should be doing that, and then I'll sit down and be like, what am I going to do 8 till 6? And I'm like, well, realistically, I don't have enough work today to do something from 8 till 6. I'm like, I've only got a few things to do, and like I would try and fill that time anyway to be like, well, that's like how you do it, but everything is relative to that person. I think that's something hopefully people are realising more and more, that like just because that works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah, and the power of slow thinking and slow living is actually like, you'll probably come up with better ideas.
Yeah.
Do you think content creators need more mental health and wellness and balance support? Because someone asked me this the other day and was like, would that be a business idea? And I was like, content creators are under way more pressure. And then you see people like Grace who have businesses, multiple businesses, books, constantly posting as well not constantly, podcasts, posting. And they're like, how do I fit it in? And I think there's a lot more pressure on content creators than there has been before.
Yeah, I think definitely, and I think sometimes I'm like, oh, do I want to say that? Because I'm like, I think we're all aware of how much of I really don't like the word like lucky, because I think everybody's really, really worked to be where they are, but just because you've worked to get somewhere and it's someone else's ideal doesn't mean it's always like the easiest thing in the world, and doesn't mean it doesn't have its cons, which is something I'm trying to come to terms with. But yeah, I think definitely, or even just as well, because it's just like a lonely job. Like you think you feel, I don't know, like caught up or the pressure, but like unless you have loads of friends in the industry, which I feel like these days, like TikTokers who have like become really famous like in their bedroom, and there's been no events for 2 years, like they might not know anyone else. So it's like, I don't know how you go about that, but I think definitely like they could, I'm sure there's probably every content creator has like something on their mind or something they want to talk about or something that's getting them down. And
the loneliness part, you're right, because you can't share it with your audience because it comes across as often like ungrateful, but it's not ungrateful, but it's hard to.
Every job, no matter how ideal and beautiful, is obviously there's always gonna be something. There's always gonna be a con. And you're not saying that makes it a bad job. I wouldn't change it for the world, but like, there's still some cons.
Great. So what's something you're excited to achieve in 2023?
I've been trying to do, my goal for 2023 is monthly podcast events, because I love my community so much and I love seeing them all come together. And like we were just saying, like it's lonely, and as I talk about this on my socials, but as bad as it sometimes sounds, you forget numbers of people with real eyes and real brains thinking about you and watching you. So it's just so nice to see them all come together. So I really, really hope I can get to the end of the year and I've done one every month. Like that's my biggest goal.
So how big are the podcast events?
They're super small at the moment. Like that. Well, I say super small because I'm trying to downplay it because it won't sound like a lot to other people. To me, it's huge. But like there's like 35 people coming to them.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. But
to travel and to come in and to see.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Good. Yeah,
I love it. And I don't think I would actually do them much bigger. I think I'd just do them over the whole weekend, because as soon as there's more people, I can't chat to you all. And that's why I'm doing them. I don't want to sit there and be like, 200 people came to my podcast event, because then it's
like the Stephen Bartlett selling out auditoriums.
Yeah.
No. I'd rather do it like people you actually know, can get to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to do stuff like a live podcast, something one day, but at the moment I'm like, that's not that's not my focus has never really been to like grow huge and huge. It's to grow with like just a community that like we all know each other, and like it's just smaller and tighter has always been my goal than like worldwide auditoriums. Because it loses its purpose then, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, it loses a sense of connection.
Yeah. I'm going to watch this back in 6 years and be selling out worldwide and be like... No, I'm joking. Hopefully not.
No, but I do think that's something that's different about your YouTube content, especially compared to like TikTokers who grew really big, you're right, from within their bedroom, and often it was for things that were... I don't know, they don't have that same relationship with their audience because you're not following a creator, you're following content.
Yeah, which I do think is equally as okay though, because I think initially, like at the root of it, our job really is to entertain. So if you're just there to like entertain someone and to like you're just the person like people watch for a laugh or for whatever, like I don't think there's anything as wrong in that either. As long as that keeps you ticking and you're happy and you find that good motivation to keep going. Yeah. So be it. I think it's good. I think we need people like that because if everyone had value and purpose and a message, oh my god, I wouldn't open TikTok. I'm just so tired of that sometimes. Yeah. Or just like an easy watch. Like if everything was always so heavy and with the like core value, I think it wouldn't have the same effect.
It would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some breathing exercises? Do you want to tell me how to do breathing exercises?
Okay.
So excited.
I mean, this is super, super simple.
Okay, I've been super stressed, so I'm excited for
I'm
this one.
literally sweating.
Are you? Okay, do you want me to do a little
yeah, so with my new therapist, I've actually only had a couple of sessions with her, but she's like, you don't breathe. And when someone's really stressed, like you really breathe in your chest. Do you notice? When's the last time you took like a full deep breath? Or is that something you do a lot?
No, so I've been quite stressed recently, and this is open up. One of my friends was trying to help. So like I was getting stressed at the stage where my skin was breaking out, like my hair I think was coming out.
Oh yeah.
Like, but no one knows because obviously I keep very quiet and I'm like living my life. And my friend was like, oh my god, like I'll do a Reiki session with you, which is very sweet. Which I think Reiki's good because you just breathe. I don't know if I believe in all the other stuff, but great. And she was like, I'm going to send you this podcast, try and meditate. And I was like, I don't have time to do that, but okay. And I was sat in the airport. I was like, I'll try this meditation. And it was like deep breath meditation. This was a few days ago. I literally started crying in the airport and I was like trying to hide that I was crying because I was like, because the breathing was such a release.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because you're like, oh, I didn't
realise like a breath could have such an impact. Yeah. Like if only I've known that this whole time I was at uni and someone was like, hey, just literally breathe. And she was saying it's so unhelpful when someone says just breathe because you're like, oh, I am breathing. But like taking like a slow breath will come to the like tell your nervous system that like you're actually okay and you have this minute to like breathe. So you do 4 in. Yeah, okay. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6 out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And even if we do that like 3 times in the morning, afternoon, evening, because I'm the same, I'm like, I want to meditate every day, but if you, that seems a bit full on. Yeah. But if you can just sit and like into your stomach, like deep breathe into your stomach, not like shallow breaths in your chest that are just gonna, because that's how you breathe like when you're stressed.
When you're panicked.
You're like this, like all the time. And
like a panting dog.
Yeah, but like you don't even realise it, but day to day that's how I breathe, like just shallow in my chest. So this is only something I've been doing literally like the last like few weeks since she said like points in the day I'll like be working and I'm like, am I breathing? And I'm like, okay, 4 in, 6 out, literally 3 of them. And like you said, it's actually crazy how much better you feel.
Much physically different. Yeah. Like even now my whole body is more relaxed.
Yeah. I do this to my boyfriend if he's like road raging in the car. I'm like, it's not that deep.
So do you do this multiple times a day?
I'm like trying. I'm not going to say it's something I've been doing for ages. Literally, my therapist said this to me in like our session like last week. And I was like, okay. And she sent me a video. And yeah, because I'll sit down and be like, I don't have time to meditate. I don't know what I'm thinking about. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm like, just points in the day. I'll be like, am I breathing?
You can breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because meditation feels like you have to be in a zone and listening to something.
And like you
breathing,
said,
it's
I'm
like...
in an airport, like it doesn't feel like you can do it all the time anywhere.
Yeah.
But you can sit on a train and be like, am I still breathing?
Yeah. And then you're not crying on the train or in the airport, which is really good because you don't really want anyone to see you and be like, oh, that's...
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Yeah. Oh, that's Megan crying in the airport. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's awesome. So is there anything you would like, if viewers want to know more about you, is there anywhere they should go?
Well, if you like the sound of stuff I've been talking about and the vibe of my content, my podcast is Life's Your Bitch. Trying to change the narrative. That is the whole vibe of the podcast, just trying to take life and look at it in a different perspective. It's on Spotify, Apple, it's also on YouTube. And yeah, if you do want to come to one of our events, hopefully there'll be another one announced soon, because I don't know when this is going up, but they'll hopefully be every month.
Going out in February, so there you go. Yeah,
yeah,
cool,
there's one in February, yeah.
Monthly in 2023.
Yeah,
cool,
hopefully.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and maybe we'll see you for the next one. Bye.